Uh, just a quick introduction. My name is Jaden Shimmers. I was the project manager on this trip for the trip to Teton Science Schools for Love the Wild Foundation. And this presentation is just kind of gonna go through everything that happened on the trip and give him more information about it. A quick introduction to Teton Science Schools. First of all, they're located in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and they're their main thing kind of, is they're a normal school. They're Mountain Academy. They do pre-K to 12th grade where they do all the English, math stuff, as well as mixing in um, just the area that they're in to learn hands-on. Um, but outside of that, they offer a variety of programs for schools and organizations. Organizations including like Love the Wild Foundation, to kind of get their hands-on stuff out in the national park. Um, but that'll have a large focus on like environmental science topics. Learning about the Yellowstone, Grand Teton National Park, of course. Students will be taken out into the field of, in this case, Grand Teton National Park, to where we did tracking, canoeing, water quality testing. We did a ton, but we'll get into that in a moment. I'm not going to show this video. I'll have it linked in hopefully an email that gets sent if you are sent an email, or if not, um, just let me know and I'll get this video to you or it's online. Quick overview of our trip. We attended Teton Science Schools for a 4-day program from June 16th to June 19th. We had 8th to 10th grade students, and we had 10 students participating in that age range. And from that, we had schools from Idaho Falls, so Compass Academy, Skyline, White Pine, and Taylorview. We had students from all those schools. And then there were two chaperones, including myself and Sherry Arnon Wheat, and she was lovely. I'd like to give her thanks as well. Where we couldn't have done it without her, really. So quick introduction to me, Jaden Shimmers. Hello. I was the project manager. This is me in the photo right there, with the hat and the beard and glasses. And standing next to me is Sherry. And then on my left, I'll introduce that's Julian, one of the students, and on the left there, that was Thomas. Um, the preparations to make sure this trip was going to go off without a hitch. I was talking to Teton Science Schools, to make our schedule, make decisions about our lodging, where the students were going to sleep, which bedrooms. We had to ensure safety. So some students had some allergies, some students had asthma that we need to make sure they weren't going to be exposed to, and we had to figure out the learning goals that we wanted to accomplish with Teton Science School so they could tailor their program to what we needed. And actually, one of the hardest parts was finding students that were interested in a free trip to Teton National Park, which you would think would be really easy, but weirdly, a lot of students didn't seem interested. In fact, I even spoke to students in person when I had given presentations in person to them. But I was handing out forums. I was getting emails sent out to the schools that they would send to all the students. There were posters that I created, um, and just more. I was really trying to bust it to get these students. And thankfully we were able to get it. We had to secure a bus, and a slash coach for transportation, which in this case we went with Teton Stage Lines. It was cheapest, and best option we could have gone with. Um, and they were great, actually. I recommend. We of course had to ensure students had all the information about it when pickup. For the trip would be what they need to bring, like the packing list. We need to make sure they signed our photo release form and slash video release form. Make sure we could post photos from presentations like this and put it on our website and social medias. And make sure they brought their inhalers, medications, just to make sure nothing could go wrong. This was the schedule that we had made with Teton Science Schools. I won't get too deep into that on this slide as I have a day by day. This was our group. I'll just introduce everybody. Starting from the left is Sherry. To the right of Sherry is Ethan. To the right of Ethan is Connor. Below Connor is Felix. To the right of Felix is Thomas. To the right of Thomas is JP. Above both of them is Sophia. Above Sophia is Elijah. He was very tall. To the right of Elijah, wearing the Love the Wild hat, is Connor, also two Connors. And then below Connor, we had Madison. And then to the right, wearing the cool hat, is Julian. And then, of course, me to the far right. So this was Arrival Day. We departed Compass Academy. We used them as our pickup location, as they graciously allowed it. 11 a.m. we left, arrived around 2:30. There were a few stops along the way, gas station and food. Um, and then orientation, the students had 3 p.m. while me and Sherry were talking to our host of our program, just to kind of make sure everything was planned out correctly and they had all the information. We had dinner at 5:30. Evening program was Introduction to the Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem. And the name kind of explains it all. They were introduced to the ecosystem of Yellowstone, plants, animals, how things interact. And then they kind of did a activity where there were different stations in which they mapped out the different areas of Yellowstone, like where certain, I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on the word here, the where certain animal sanctuaries are and stuff like that. And then they return to their rooms to sleep at 9 p.m. as they had an early morning. These are some photos I took. This is on the left here is Felix, Connor, and Thomas. They're mapping out on Yellowstone in their field journals they were given. This is them planning out what's going to happen, and making sure all the students have all the rules they were kind of given for orientation. And then on the bottom is Sherry helping out Thomas. Again, she was super helpful and awesome. Day two, um, waking up at about 7 to get ready for breakfast at 7:30. Their field day, which was tracking and water quality testing, return to Jackson campus around 4 p.m. And also they had field lunch out in the field. All field days had that. Then 5:30 p.m. dinner. Evening program was Wolf Mediation, which was one of my favorite, and I'll get into why. 9 p.m. they all returned to their rooms. And I gotta say, just for the food stuff, for the breakfast and dinner, they really, they really cooked some really nice stuff. The first day had the best chicken pot pie I ever had. Tracking. These are a couple photos of us walking to the creek, where we do water quality testing. And on the way, students were checking the ground for scat and tracks and identifying them with a field journal, which is identified in this photo here, which you can see. I believe in this photo is specifically Felix holding this field journal and identifying the moose scat. And while we were out there, I wasn't able to get a photo of it, but we saw a wild deer just hanging out, and the students were really excited to see that. The water quality, we were at a creek, and some students, they were split into three groups. Some students had a net, and they were trying to catch micros, little living things in the water, um, to have it brought and analyze those samples of another group to identify what's living in the water. And depending on what's living in the water and what they find, will determine how dirty that water is and how like bad it would be to drink. Um is still water better than moving water? Is animals being next to it worse? And then there was one other group identifying the pH level of that water. For wolf mediation, the students were given some information about the history of wolves, and then they were split into five groups of two, and each group had different roles they were assigned to get into character, where each role had a different outlook on how wolves should be handled in Yellowstone. So from the hunters, they were saying they wanted the least amount of protection in that group, all the way to environmentalists, where they wanted the most amount of protections for the wolves. These are some videos that I'll go ahead and play of Ethan and Elijah, who are the hunters, and they were really funny and really cool. I'll just go ahead and play that.
Welcome back to Wolf Pelts Are Us. I'm Bill. Wolf Pelts Are Us. You see them, we shoot them. We are calling for the extermination of 90% of the state's 1,500 strong wolf population. Wolves are ruining the livelihoods of ranchers and hunters. They're destroying these ranchers. We are just here to protect them. The original plan was to call for a minimum population of 15 packs, and we agree with that plan. We want zero protection for wolves. They can go to Canada if they want to get protected. Joe, take it away.
So, a cow taken by a wolf is similar to a thief stealing an item from a production line in a factory, Cameron Mulroney said. And 1,556 calls for Idaho's wolf population. I'm not doing that.
We are calling for the Idaho wolf population to be reduced from the current estimated size of 1,556 back to that politically determined level of 150 werewolves. To achieve that, we need to devote $590,000 to hire contractors to exterminate the animals and remove any limits on the number of wolves hunters may harvest while freeing them to use any method currently legal in the state, including trapping, the use of night vision equipment, and shooting for vehicles, and baiting. A cow taken by a wolf is similar to a thief stealing an item from a production line in a factory. And remember, folks, SCS. You see them, you call us, we shoot them. Have a nice day.
That was the hunters presentation they gave, which I thought was really cool. Every group gave a really awesome presentation. I was really happy to see them all really getting into and getting into character and having some fun with it. This other video was later. There was kind of a debate where the groups asked each other questions and then the groups responded.
You can get your business, and we're happy.
We can shoot people.
I really liked that video. That was one of my favorites I got. Everybody just having a good time, and Ethan, of course, accidentally saying that they can shoot people instead of wolves, which is also bad, but yeah, really fun.
You.
Day two photos. These were some photos I got from day two. In the left here is JP when we were playing a game. It was kind of like red light, green light, where they had to steal a plush. And they get back to the starting position, and he was really, really playing the game. He was running, giving his all. In the right is a photo of Connor wearing the hat. I thought that was really cool, um, and awesome for these students to be wearing the Love the Wild hat. In the bottom left here was when the students were learning about what macros were. And they were playing a little game. It was kind of like tag. And this is Elijah running very, very quickly. He was good at the game. Day three, they woke up again about 7 to have breakfast. 7:30, had a field day, which was canoeing, which was really cool. And I'll get into the problem that we almost had. We almost weren't able to canoe. Come back, of course, around 4 p.m. 5:30 dinner. Evening program, evening exploration, which actually was supposed to be a presentation to another class, like another school that was there. But unfortunately, or fortunately, we were the only school there, the only organization there, as there was going to be one other school, but that school had canceled. So basically, the entire area was open for us, which made dinner really easy, simple to clean up, and everything very calm. and then go to bed around 9. Canoeing, the students, a lot of them, this was their first time. Um, and they kind of learned about how glacier lakes were formed, some geology about the mountains. We almost weren't allowed on the water because, in order for it to be safe, the air and the water have to add up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. But when we arrived, it was only 98 degrees combined. So we played a game for a few minutes, and thankfully it hit that 100 mark. I think it hit 101 actually by the time we got on the water, and thankfully we were out canoeing. And a thing to mention, the day before, it had started snowing. Not like a little trinket, it was snowing pretty good. And me, all the students, including Sherry, we were all like, "What's going on? This is terrible. Oh no!" But it turned out good. Oh, this is a small video just of the area. Really beautiful views being up to these mountains. They're really awesome sights, and being on the water is just really calm. And I saw the students just kind of relaxing, and appreciating the view. Maddie, she didn't canoe. uh, She didn't steer or canoe, but she kind of like slept on the canoe. Um, and we were worried that she wasn't having a ton of fun. But as soon as we got off the water, we were like, "Dude, what's your favorite part of the trip so far?" She's like, 100% the canoeing. So evening exploration was really cool. We went out into the park in a van, with the school, and we were looking for deer, elk. We were actually looking for apparently a black bear that would frequent the area, but unfortunately, we only got to see those deer and elk, and some ducks out in the water. I got to show some students how to use my camera. They were interested. Um, Elijah really getting into it. He was hiding in bushes, like he was camouflaged with his green jacket. I saw him prone, just in there, trying to see if he could sneak up on the animals. There were no animals to sneak up on, but it's the thought that counts, really. Day 4, which was the last day, which was pretty simple. Um, they got breakfast 7:30 as always, and we had to clean up the campus, which thankfully was really easy because we didn't leave a ton mess. The bit hardest part was just cleaning up the rooms. Um, had some reflection games on the last day. Um, like here in the top left, JP wearing the Love the Wild hat. We were doing kind of a teamwork obstacle course, which is those top two photos, and then we kind of circled up, had a reflection time where a lot of the students were talking about their favorite parts of the trip. And it was really cool seeing the students talk about these people they didn't really know before, talking to them like they knew them their whole lives, and talking about how much of a really good experience they had on the trip, and that at least meant a lot hearing that, um, seeing that we succeeded in our goal. We have some reflections that I'll go ahead and let you read. I'll stay quiet for a moment, and if there's not enough time, just go ahead and pause. All right, I'm gonna move to the next slide, for the sake of time, but for some more time, just go ahead and pause the video and read it. Same for this one. So it was really cool seeing these reflections, and getting to hear what the students had gotten out of the trip, and not just having what I got out of the trip. Talking about what I saw, but hearing it from the students. This was the cost of the trip. The program itself cost about 4,000, or it did cost exactly $4,090.58. The school, they did give us a $200 scholarship, but even with that, it cost about 340 to 370 per student, and that added up to $4,000. Then transportation was 1,700 for Teton stage lines for a nice little coach. It wasn't exactly like a school bus, but it was a really good price, and they provided awesome service, and our bus driver was really awesome. So thank you to them. And then we paid Sherry $450 for the trip, and for her experience and for her help. And again, she did a wonderful job, and everything totaled up to about $6,240.58. My summary for it is, my goal was to get some students out of their comfort zone, learn about these environmental science topics, or just kind of have a good time out in out in nature, which something a lot of these students didn't really think about at all. A lot of students hadn't really had the opportunity to go out, even, camping locally, or going to going canoeing, right? Because a lot of students had never gone canoeing with their families or whatever. And it was really cool to have the opportunity to bring these students and to at least give them the opportunity to learn that they do love something. So not only just an appreciation of like the national parks or the animals or nature at all, but just the world around them, and figuring out these things have reason for existing. And I do believe education is one of the most, or if not the most important thing to preserving these areas. And I'm really glad I could share the love for just in general the outdoors that I gained at one point when I was around their age. And it was really, really cool to help share that. And even if they don't, I hope they do continue doing stuff like this. That's kind of the presentation. If maybe I glossed over some things you'd like to know more about, or maybe some things were confusing, just go ahead and send me a question. My email is jadongreenkid@gmail.com. JADONGREENKID@gmail.com. Um, but thank you for listening, and yeah, we would really hope that in the future we'll be able to do trips like this again. But until then, this trip was a success.